All right, I have 9 o'clock, so I will call this meeting to order. Jeanette, can you please call the roll?
Sure. Arlington Heights,
Here.
Bensonville,
Here.
City of Chicago 39th Ward, 41st Ward, Des Plaines, Hanover Park,
Here.
Harwood Heights,
Here.
Itasca, Norwich,
Here.
Palatine,
Here.
Park Ridge,
Here.
River Grove,
Here.
Rolling Meadows,
Here.
Schaumburg, Wooddale,
Here.
and School District 59.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, Jeanette. Now, if I can have an approval of the minutes for the October 13th Tech Committee.
So
I'll
moved.
make a motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. Jeanette, please call the roll.
Arlington Heights,
Yes.
Bensonville,
Yes.
City of Chicago 39th Ward, 41st, Des Plaines, Hanover Park,
Yes.
Harwood Heights,
Yes.
Itasca, Norwich,
Yes.
Palatine,
Yes.
Park Ridge,
Yes.
River Grove,
Yes.
Rolling Meadows,
Yes.
Schaumburg, Wooddale,
Yes.
and School District 59.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, now we'll move to the hopefully temporary standing item that we have on the agenda, which is the update on the impacts due to COVID-19 pandemic. Ryan.
Morning, everyone. Let me pull this up on the screen. Assume everyone can see that. Yeah, we want to continue giving updates on traveler and operation impacts due to the COVID pandemic. First slide here is the U.S. traveler demand. So this is national traveler volumes that we've been tracking over the year. As you can see, we did have some slow growth in the summer, and that has maintained through the fall months, but still well below the volumes of travelers we saw in 2019. Next slide is a little more specific to O'Hare. Traveler volumes through the terminals at O'Hare through October. And again, as you can see, we did see growth in the summer months, but that has stalled out a bit, yet maintained itself through October here that we see. And again, those are mainly, as we've spoken about before, these are mainly what we refer to as the leisure travelers. So the business traveler that really makes up, the majority of the traveling market has not returned to the levels that we saw in 2019. So, and that'll be some time before we see that. Again, with vaccines, promising news about vaccines, there is, optimism that we should be returning hopefully to some sort of normalcy in the foreseeable future. But when operation levels and traveler demand levels return to what we saw in 2019, it'll be several years to come. Operations 2019 versus 2020 for O'Hare through October. Again, we did see growth through July, August, September that had dipped down a bit in October, but still well below 2019. Midway, similar story, although they saw a bit more robust recovery in the summer months. Southwest's main market is the leisure traveler, and so they were able to recover a little quicker than some of the other airlines like United and American. However, they have fallen off as well through the fall months, similar to what we see at O'Hare. And again, the change in flights, scheduled flights continues to remain the same. United and American, Southwest, all showing significant schedule reductions compared to last year. Passenger versus cargo operations. This is something we still want to point out. Although the passenger volumes have stalled out a bit, at least of the growth that we saw in the summer months. We still continue to see growth in dedicated cargo demand at O'Hare. You can see the cargo operations, average operations per day continues to grow by the growth we saw over the summer. And that is something that we continue to see at O'Hare, as O'Hare continues to be a hub for cargo operations, specifically for materials in relation to the pandemic. And so that's something we will continue to track, and I'll highlight even further in the quarterly Flight Quiet report. And again, recovery continues to be something not that we won't see for several years to come. The industry always does recover, but when the recovery will happen is still a bit far off from where we are today. And that's the update on COVID impacts.
Thanks, Fran. I just want to remind everyone, a word of caution on that cargo slide because the scales are so vastly different. So we're looking at passenger.
Yes, again, thank you. Important to point out, we're not saying cargo operations have exceeded passenger operations. The scales here are very different. We just want to point out that we have seen growth in cargo.
Yep, important footnote. All right, does anyone have any questions for Ryan related to the impact of COVID-19 on the airport or the industry? Thank you for your report, Ryan. Now I'll move on to the new runway 9C 27C, which was commissioned on November 5th. Who's taking this one? Aaron?
I'll take this one as well, Aaron, unless you want to chime in. Again, just a reminder, we opened up our new runway on the north end of the airfield, 9 Center, 27 Center on November 5th. It's 11,245 feet by 200 feet, capable of handling the largest aircraft in operation today. We are updating a lot of material on the website. Let me show one of those materials here to incorporate the new runway. I just want to make sure everyone's aware. If we can find it. It's not coming up for some reason, but just want to make sure everyone's aware that we are updating material on to incorporate 9 Center, 27 Center on the website. We'll be distributing those to Jeanette as well, so she can make sure all of you have it. Although the runway opened November 5th, we've seen very little operations on the runway. As we discussed prior, for now, it's mainly going to be used for departures and east flow sparingly. There is still a lot of navigational equipment that needs to be finalized for the runway before it can be used toward its full potential, which will be later next year. So for now, it's just going to be used sparingly for departures and east flow. And we've been tracking operations and haven't really seen any much of any operations on it yet. But again, just want to remind everyone the runway is open and we will be updating all of our materials appropriately to incorporate it.
Brian, do you have anything more specific than next year? I think a lot of us had high hopes that the opening of this runway would provide some relief to the southern airfield.
Yeah, so we're still looking at spring of next year when runway 27 left, 9 right closes for the extension construction, where we are looking to see kind of that shift of arrival traffic, at least in west flow, from 27 left to 27 center. And really the major relief comes once that extension project is complete and the OMP airfield is finalized, where we really get a balance of operations on the north and south airfields, where the north airfield, will have the same same runway configurations as the south and be able to accommodate a lot of the same operations. So spring of next year, when we're looking for 27 Center, 9 Center to kind of take over the arrival operations of 27 left, especially in West Flow. And then ultimately after 2021, when OMP is complete, where we'll have a real much more balanced airfield with the completion of 27 left, 9 right extension.
Thank you. That's helpful. Does anyone have any questions for Ryan or Aaron regarding the opening of the new runway?
Yeah, Brian here from Norwich. How come when the other runways opened, they were fully operational from day one and this new runway is not?
Good question, Brian.
And I'll take that.
Yeah.
Brian, good morning. It's Aaron Frame. Brian, the airfield team has had impacts this year due to COVID. Some construction proceeded, other construction did not. So we need to give the FAA time to finish the navigational aids.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
question, Brian. Thank you. Anyone else have any questions?
Can I ask a question, Woodell?
Yes, Art, go ahead.
Yeah, it's on the same line. So, because I had some questions from the residents why that wasn't being used. So that's a technical issue and it's really not ready for use because it's supposed to be an all-weather runway. Is that correct? So that I can get back to the residents?
Hi, Alderman. Good morning. The pavement is done. We just need to give the FAA time to finish the navigational aids. So
Okay.
again, remember that, you know, the navigational aids help the pilots when there are weather conditions that do not allow for visual operations. In other words, if they need those visual aids, or sorry, those navigational aids, we want to make sure that that equipment is installed and commissioned. And so some additional time is needed. Again, the pavement's done, but using 9 Center in combination with the other runways for the time being, right? So the pilots have more ability to do visual departures as opposed to visual arrivals. Both can be done, but the air traffic is very interested in making sure that the airfield is working as a whole. And so some decisions have been made about what can be achieved and still keep the airfield flowing in general. Does that help?
Yeah, it does. Thank you, Aaron.
Yeah, I think Art, Brian, and I are kind of on the same page. You know, when 10C, 28C opened up, it was used immediately and our residents felt the impact immediately. We were kind of expecting the same sort of usage of that runway. So kind of just wish CDA would have been a little bit more clear about the rollout of the runway. Does anyone have any other questions regarding this runway? All right, then we'll turn it over to Vildana for
Good
her
morning.
discussion of noise monitors.
Good morning, everyone. Of the 8 available residential portable residential noise monitors at O'Hare, 7 are able to be requested. Currently, 1 is deployed to Alaska, and we have recently retrieved 1 monitor from Elk Grove Village. That report is ready to be issued. I'll probably mail it today. And all caught up with residential portable noise monitor reports. The municipal monitor is available to be requested, so there's no update on that. And Ryan, do you mind pulling up the long-term portable monitor report? This report is for the month of September. It's for Site D, which is located in Chicago Ward 39, Park Village. And this is the long-term portable that will be replaced with a permanent noise monitor soon. And the average aircraft DNL for the month of September for this 53.4, which is below the values in the prior years, as expected. Any questions on the residential or long-term portable before I move on to the permanent?
Any questions for Vildana? Seeing none, we can move on.
Ryan, can you please display the tracking sheet? Thank you. we have added an extra step here, step number 5 for a total of 13 steps now. It's contractor authorization because most of the sites are currently on this step and that was not part of the tracking sheet before. In addition to adding this, we have also reordered the site a little bit to group them by installation date. So on the right-hand side, you see the 3 relocations in Des Plaines, North Lake, and Schiller Park. And then also a bit left of there, site 45, which is in Niles. That's a new monitor. Those are going to be installed as one group. And currently, the contractor authorization paperwork is review. As soon as it's approved, we can go ahead with these 4 sites. And most recently, the Des Plaines license agreement was signed on November. Next up, we will group sites 39, 40, and 46. 2 of those are in Chicago Ward 39 and 1 in Chicago Ward 40. The contractor paperwork is also being reviewed, and as soon as, and this is the construction contractor, as soon as it's approved, also we can proceed with these 3 sites. Site 38 in Chicago Ward 39, we have selected a site, but we need to confirm a few things before we can proceed with this one. And because it may take a while, we decided to bundle this site with the Chicago Ward 41 sites. Any questions on this?
Any questions for Valdana on the rollout of new noise monitors? Thank you for your
Peter
report,
Beilick?
Valdana. Oh, yep. I hear someone.
Peter has a question.
Peter, floor is yours.
No, I just had problems logging in. I just want to let you know I was here.
Oh, okay.
Good to
thank
see you, Peter. Welcome. All right, no questions for Valdana. Thank you. Then we'll move on to third quarter Fly Quiet report. Ryan.
Okay, we've got the third quarter 2020 Flight Quiet Program report to go over. Pages 1 through 3 provide highlights and overview for the quarter. Highlights for third quarter include a average start time of Fly Quiet mode of 10:14 p.m. and an average stop time of 6:42 a.m. Those times are much earlier and later as we typically see, and this is mainly due to the historically low operation levels that we're seeing right now. And I'll go into more detail on that in some of the subsequent reports. Average nightly time in Flight Quiet mode is 8 hours and 28 minutes, and average operations in Flight Quiet mode is 68. And again, we typically see closer to 100 operations. Some runway and operation highlights for the quarter. The most used departure runway was 28 right with 40% of the departures, and nighttime arrival runway, most used nighttime arrival runway, excuse me, was 28 center with 32%. Nighttime operations represented only 6% of the overall daily operations. As some of you may remember, that number was closer to 11, 12% some months pre-COVID. So the share of operations at night is much lower than we typically see. And then the breakout of types of carriers that are operating during the overnight hours. You can see for the third quarter 2020, dedicated cargo represented the majority of carrier types operating overnight with 47%. That is also a significant change. We typically see, I think, third quarter in 2019, that was closer to 16% cargo. And so as the passenger carriers decrease operations, cargo has not, so they have a larger share of the operations, and we're seeing that during the overnight hours. At the bottom of page 2, we've got our preferential flight track highlights for third quarter 2020. 87% of the operations stay within a half a mile of our nighttime preferential departure tracks, which is a good result. Page 4 is our nighttime hourly operations report for third quarter. This is for the overnight hours, 10 p.m. to 7 a.m., where we break out the operations by hour, average operations by hour. Again, average time was 8 hours and 28 minutes in flight quiet with 68 average operations. And the average start time was 10:14 p.m. Average stop time was 6:42 a.m., much later than we typically see. And this graph does a good job of illustrating how demand levels drive the start and stop times of flight quiet. As you can see from the exhibit, the yellow bars are third quarter 2019 arrivals compared to red 2020 arrivals. And you can see on the right side of the page in 2019 how the arrival demand in the earlier hours starting 5:30 a.m. was much greater than we're seeing today. And so as the demand levels are lower in 2020, we're able to stay in flight quiet mode much later than we typically were last year. And same thing plays out on the departure side. On the left side of the graphic, you'll see the light blue is 2019 departures versus the green in 2020, and much difference in demand levels that we're seeing. So we're able to start much earlier, much closer to 10 p.m. than we have historically been able to. Page 5 is our runway use report for nighttime, 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. Comparing third quarter 2020 to second quarter 2020. Average daily departures and arrivals on the top, and then our utilization percentages and the bar graphs in the middle and arrows at the bottom of the page. As you can see, for departures for third quarter, 28 right was 39% was the most used departure runway in west flow. In east flow, 10 left and 10 center, 18% and 13% respectively. On the arrival side, in west flow, 27 left and 28 center were the primary runways with 17%, 32%, while in east flow, 10 center was the primary runway with 30% utilization. Page 6 is the runway use report for fly quiet mode. And so this is when we're able to demand reduces down to one arrival and one departure runway, and we're able to use our preferential departure paths. For third quarter, you can see a little bit more distribution. However, it's important to point out third quarter is the months of July, August, and September. We did not resume the interim flight quiet program until mid-September.
Yeah, baby, I'm getting dressed.
So the report only reflects a portion of IFQ. And so we were in, normal, I guess, flight quiet, as opposed to the interim flight quiet rotation program for the majority of the quarter. But as you can see, 28 right, 36% of the departures in west flow, and 10 left and 10 center with 18 and 15% of the departures respectively in east flow. On the arrival side, we do have some dispersion. We do see 2% on 22 right, 27 left, 15%, and 28 center with 32% in west flow. And in east flow, 10 center, 31% of the arrival utilization. Pages 7 and 8 are nighttime arrival summary reports for our most used arrival runway. Page 7 is 10 center. We'll list out all the various airlines that operated on 10 center during flight quiet mode in third quarter 2020. As you can see, there were a little over 1,000 operations in third quarter arrivals in third quarter 2020 on runway 10 center, and listing out all the airlines as well as identifying if they are dedicated passenger or cargo. Page 8 is the other arrival runway for third quarter 2020 in flight quiet mode. 28 center arrivals. We had 1,123 total arrivals for third quarter as compared to 1,700 in third quarter 2019. Page 9 is our nighttime preferential flight track summary report for 10 left. This report not only shows the operation levels in the quarter, but also the average deviation from our nighttime preferential flight tracks. 10 left has a straight out preferential flight track. As you can see, everyone had an average of under a half-mile deviation from that designated flight path. And we didn't see any oranges or reds for 10 left. And so we had an average deviation of 0.2 nautical miles for third quarter 2020, which is very good. On the other side, 28 right has that 290 degree heading, vector heading for our preferential flight path. For third quarter 2020, we did see some deviations. Majority was in the green of less than a half nautical mile. We did see some orange, which is a half mile to a mile deviation from the preferential flight path, as well as one red, but that was for general aviation. The general aviation aircraft tend to be, air traffic does like to get them out of the way quicker than some of the passenger or cargo aircraft. So I'm not as concerned about those deviation levels. Average deviation for third quarter 2020 was 0.38 nautical miles with a little over 1,000 departures on runway 28 right. Page 11 shows the actual flight tracks for third quarter 2020. We had 2,774 flight quiet mode departures in the quarter. 461 were non-flight quiet mode departures, meaning that they were departures that occurred before or after we were in flight quiet mode, but still during the nighttime hours, 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. So a total of 3,235 total departures in nighttime for the quarter. As you can see, vast majority of the runways saw well into the green, under a half-mile nautical mile deviation from our preferential flight paths, especially 9 right, 10 left, with 96%, 28 right saw 85%. We did have 4 left, which had a low utilization, or I should say a high deviation rate of 33% from its preferential flight track. And that's a straight out to the northeast preferential flight track. But as you can see from the tracks in the map, it may be a little hard to tell. We didn't have that many operations. So although the percentage is high, I think that's less than 20 actual operations that deviated more than a mile from the preferential flight path. So although the percentage is high, it's a low number of operations that actually occurred in the quarter. And before I move on, I also want to point out, we're showing 9 center, 27 center still here as a future runway. Obviously, this is the third quarter report. The next fourth quarter report, that'll be, an existing runway shown in this graphic. However, it's important to point out that it will not have a preferential flight path, much like 10 center, 28 center. So we will not be showing greens, oranges, or reds on reports for any operations on 9 center, 27 center. Any preferential flight path will be developed in the flight committee for a future program. And so the existing program did not account for 9 Center, 27 Center, so we will not have any deviation metrics for that runway. Page 12 is the nighttime noise complaint report for third quarter. This is just for nighttime noise complaints, where we show verifiable households that made complaints in the months of July, August, and September of 2020, along with total complaints for the quarter. As you can see, we saw a total of 8,077 complaints for third quarter 2020. You have our verifiable households in July, August, and September, 139 in July, 159 in August, and 174 in September. No major standouts in the report, no surprises. Website was the by far the preferred method of complaint, with over 95% of the complaints coming through the website, and nature of complaint just under 75% for aircraft noise. Pages 13 and 14 are our permanent noise monitor reports. Page 13 shows the geographic location of our current 36 noise monitors around the airport. Page 14 is the nighttime aircraft noise report for third quarter, where we use the aircraft LEQ metric as opposed to the aircraft DNL metric. We're just looking at the nighttime hours, so since we are not looking at 24 hours, we will not use the DNL metric. Instead, we use the LEQ metric. As you can see, for third quarter 2020, we have all of the LEQs listed for all our monitors, and majority show at least a decibel or more, green being the color for that, decrease from the same quarter of the previous year. And as you can see there, 2019 levels much higher than we saw in that we're currently seeing in third quarter 2020. Page 15 is the airline ground run-up report. We have made a few changes to this report to reflect the new location of the ground run-up enclosure. In the previous meeting, we went over a lot of the material in relation to the new location of the run-up enclosure, as well as the new alternate locations. Alternate locations being those locations that aircraft use in the event the ground run-up enclosure is not available. And so you'll see in the graphic on the middle of the page, the location of the GRE, as well as the 4 alternate locations on runway 22 right and 10 right, 28 left. The top of the report, we show all the airlines that made run-ups in the third quarter 2020, and whether or not those run-ups were in the GRE or at one of the alternate locations. As you can see, there were a total of 209 run-ups occurred in 2020. Of those, 93% occurred within the GRE, which is great. We did see a small percentage have to use one of the alternate locations. And as you can see, American Airlines had 100% utilization of the GRE. United Mainline only had 67% of their 27 total operation run-ups occur within the GRE. The next report kind of shows why that is. This is the aircraft ground run-up report, same period, third quarter 2020. Where we show all the different aircraft types that use the GRE or had to use an alternate location. Again, a total of 209 run-ups in third quarter. Of those, 195 or 93% occurred within the GRE, which is a great percentage. But some of the larger aircraft, as you'll see, the Boeing 767, 777 and 787 either did not or only partially used the GRE. So we saw 50% or no utilization at all of the GRE, whereas pretty much all of our narrow body and regional size aircraft used the GRE in the third quarter. And that completes the third quarter 2020 Fly Quiet program report.
Thank you, Ryan, for your report. Does anyone have any questions for Ryan regarding the third quarter Fly Quiet report? Seeing none, we'll hope we can get a little bit of participation on this next agenda item, the Fly Quiet Recognition Program. We're going to work on trying to build out what the Fly Quiet Recognition Program will look like. Ryan, the floor is yours.
Yeah, so we wanted to touch base again on the a new Fly Quiet Recognition Program. At the last meeting, we talked about what the ONCC has done in the past, what other airports do for their recognition or rewards programs. And so we wanted to keep the conversation moving and talk about what metrics we may use for a new program. So we on the screen here, I've brought up some metrics that we think would be good to use. These are all quantifiable metrics that leave little subjectivity to them. The first being the average deviation from nighttime preferential flight tracks. So each airline would get an annual average score based on their ability or usage of the preferential flight paths. Also the ground run-up enclosure. As you just saw in the report, we can break out each airline's usage of the GRE, whether they use the GRE or alternate locations, and provide a score based on that. We also have something we talked about a bit at the last meeting, and something that some other airports do is provide a fleet mix rating. And what I mean by that is that we can calculate a rating based on the FAA's Part 36 noise standard certifications for aircraft. So every aircraft that's built and certified by the FAA goes through Part 36 noise standard certification. And we can use those numbers to give a fleet mix rating to each airline operating at O'Hare and provide a score based on how quiet or loud their fleet is based on the aircraft types that they fly in their fleet, as well as take into consideration of how frequently they fly those aircraft types into O'Hare. And so that's something that we can add into a overall metric for a new program. And another metric is usage of preferential runways. This is something that we can incorporate in the future if we were to have a flight quiet recognition program. We can, once a permanent flight quiet program is in place and we have new preferential flight paths, this is something that can be incorporated into the calculation of scoring for the year. So these are some of the metrics that we think would be good to consider. There are other factors that the ONCC has used in the past, such as airlines' participation with ONCC, meetings, correspondences, etc. However, those are more qualitative, and we would need a bit of a direction from this committee and the ONCC as to if that were to be incorporated, how we would consider those in the scoring. So I think what we're really asking for today is, just for the committee to think about this further. Is this something the committee is interested in pursuing? Are these metrics things that you think are viable? Are there any other criteria you think we should be considering in developing a recognition program? And I think Chairman Summers' goal is to have something in place next year that we can look at 2020 as kind of the first year for applying these metrics to come up with an award.
Yeah, so I think with building upon that, and I want to open this up for a little bit of discussion. I think making sure it's all quantitative and kind of steering away from the qualitative is important. That way we can do a look back and actually apply real metrics to this, not just kind of how we feel about a certain airline. And that would be strong going forward. Does anyone have any other metrics that they think we should be considering? So one that I was thinking of, and I don't know the implications of this, but what about just nighttime flights? I mean, what if we just started recognizing that we have certain fly quiet hours, and more flights outside of the fly quiet hours are better than more flights within the fly quiet hours? Maybe we can use it to start addressing the shoulder hour problem, the encroachment of the fly quiet hours. Ryan, do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, I do, you know, it is an area, the shoulder hour activity levels is something obviously, you know, the ONCC would like to see reduced. However, the CDA needs, you know, to be cautious when there's any implication of deterring demand levels. And so that's something I think we, you know, kind of have to take a look at and see if awarding airlines or admonishing airlines for flying at night may be perceived as influencing demand.
What about encouraging airlines to fly during the day?
That is definitely something, yeah, we'd have to see how we would, you know, what angle we would take with it and what might be feasible. But that's something we can consider. I don't know if Aaron's has any opinion.
Aaron, I'd be interested to hear your thoughts.
I do think it's something we consider, but I think, Evan, as you said, we want to try to make this quantitative where possible. And I was actually having the same thought about preferential runway adherence, in that, you know, I think we all want the airlines to use the preferential runways, but we have to allow for the fact that sometimes they can't use those runways, or air traffic directs them to use another runway. So I think both of those factors, being preferential runway use and or scheduling nighttime flights, if we're going to use them, I think they need to be a lower weight. Like if we take these factors and put it into a formula and crunch numbers and figure out who comes the winner, I think anything where there might be a misconception that, you know, they would be punished per se is not our goal. So yes, it's something we can consider. I think we just need to flesh it out a bit.
So Brian's got a good question. Do we want to have a separation between cargo and commercial carriers? And I think that, yeah, there probably needs to be some consideration or thought towards commercial passenger and cargo, as well as the size of the airlines, right? You know,
Yeah.
we have one airline. Go ahead, Aaron.
The ONCC used to do that. You used to have, last time the commission gave out awards, I believe was 2008. And you used to have awards for commercial and cargo. So we would support that.
What about the size of the airlines? Some of these more, I don't want to call them boutique airlines that may.
I do think that you also used to have sort of a small airline and a large airline, because I remember, I think American Eagle won in one of the last years that you did it. And I think that was the goal, is to recognize that not all airlines are created equal, right? They have different business goals, and it's important to recognize all participants that are contributing to, you know, quality of life.
Yeah, we had in the past, we would separate based on average number of operations during the night, and you'd have a category 1, which was kind of the large, you know, United and Americans, and then a category 2, which was some of the smaller airlines that may have, you know, 1 or less average operations during the overnight hours.
Okay, I think that would be helpful to flesh out. Any other comments for Ryan?
Yeah, I think ground run-up enclosures should be weighted less, because most people, when they complain, are complaining about planes flying over their house. And I don't, again, unless you're close by, you probably don't hear the ground run-up enclosure as much. Weigh it, but not as much as everything else.
That's helpful. Yeah, that's good. The GRE one is kind of funny because it's very easy to quantify for us. but it really doesn't have a huge impact on residents, especially several miles out from the airport. So I guess we need to come up with some sort of weighting metric for what's presented, as well as consider if there's anything we can do about the operating within the fly quiet period.
Yes, Chairman, let us know, based on committee feedback, what factors you would like to include, and then we can work up a formula for your consideration.
Okay, well, I think everything here that's presented, does anyone have any objection to including these 4 metrics?
Nope,
Not me.
Okay.
nope.
And then Ryan, can you give some consideration to the fly quiet hours? And how maybe we can work?
Yeah, we'll
back that in?
we'll brainstorm and see if that can be factored in somehow without, breaking any laws per se.
Every morning when I wake
Aaron,
up,
thank
that's what I tell myself. Let's not break any laws today, Evan. So we don't want to be doing that. But this is a quality of life
Sure.
stuff, so we do want to make this useful. And if we just kind of give awards based on ground run-up and closures, that's not going to be a useful program to the residents that we're here to represent.
Understood.
Okay,
I think there's Alderman Wood had a question.
Alderman?
Yeah, thank you. On the, I'm a little lost. I understand the reports we want to do, and I'm in favor of those, the quantitativeness of those. I'm a little lost at what any of those actually mean. So if the airline doesn't follow them, why we're so concerned, because we don't actually punish anybody. It's not like we're going to say you can't fly your airplane. So I'm wondering why we'd have any pushback on getting any of those reports, just so that we have a better understanding of the animal that we're dealing with, and are better able to put out information to residents, right? Reality is reality. We can't change the airport, right? We can't tell them to change where they land or fly. We've said that over the years. But we can get the true picture and be able to relay that to residents so that they get a better understanding, much like the new airport or the new runway coming on. Everybody thought that that would open up and suck all the airplanes over there, and that didn't happen. So it's, I'm not complaining, I'm just saying a better job of putting out the accurate information. So that was kind of a question and a statement all put together.
Yeah, no, that was good. I think I'll treat that one as a rhetorical question. It's something we just need to do better on.
Correct.
But then, yeah, I mean, it goes back to, this needs to be, we need to focus on the quality of life of our residents, and that's what we're all here for. So we need to come up with a program that can hopefully reward the airlines that are contributing to the quality of life of our residents.
So what does a reward look like to the airlines? Do we give them Wooddale bucks or Bensonville bucks, or?
No, I think it's,
Jeanette,
What
do you
does
want
that,
to talk
what does that
about,
look like? I don't want to
Jeanette,
exclude anybody. Displain bucks and Harwood Heights bucks also.
Jeanette, do you want to talk about what the ONCC did in the past?
Yes, in the past, at our meetings, we presented the airlines with a plaque and obviously their recognition for the Flight Quiet Award.
Kevin Spitz with Arlington Heights.
Thank you.
I liked the billboard idea on near the O'Hare Airport as a nice recognition.
yeah, I actually did a little bit of research on that and reached out to some of our friends at Clear Channel. They said that they don't know if that would meet their, what do they call it? The community guidelines to call out an airport for bad call out an airline for bad performance, but maybe they would consider good performance. So that's something
I meant for good performance. The one who wins the award, I think, would be a nice billboard.
Well, I do think that, the real, in my opinion, the real benefit of having a recognition program is to kind of advertise or get the word out about your program. Obviously, the carriers, major carriers are aware of the Flight Quiet program. But the more, attention there is put to it, the more widespread knowledge gets out there about the program. And you may get airlines that may start taking a second look at some of their policies and procedures. Oh, we didn't get an award this year. What, why is that? What can we do differently to adhere to this program? So I do think there is benefits besides just, handing an award out to an airline.
Right, and I get it. I'm a millennial. I got a lot of participation trophies. I don't want this to be a participation trophy. I want it to have some weight to it. But like if we did a press release with who the winner was, and then I was booking a flight to Florida, and American was 200 and United was 200, but American had better, they got the award. Maybe I'd reward them with my consumer dollars. Another thing we could do is, Ron texted me that at Seattle's airport they hang a banner for whatever airline has the award. That seems reasonable to, we can market it to the consumers that are actually in the airport. So yes, it is. There aren't much teeth to this. We get it, but this is kind of a marketing thing, I think. Anyone else have any comments on the Fly Quiet recognition program?
This is John from Hanover Park. Question
Hey, John.
is, if we do this, how many times, say American wins it 10 years in a row, should there be a limit on how many years in a row they do get it? And you've got to, factor in other airlines?
Yeah, but if American, I thought about that too. And then we can revisit the program metrics on a regular basis. But if American's the best, if they're doing the best job, then heck yeah, they should win the award 10 years in a row. I think.
To piggyback on that, if obviously one airline that could be a big thing to them, and they want to win it. But I think in general, that's the issue. We have to make it something they want to win. There has to be a way. And so jokingly, whether you give them Wooddale bucks or Bensonville bucks, that kind of was a joke. But if there's no reason to win something, right, then there's no reason to participate even. And so that was kind of my underlying question or concern. So whether it's a carrot or a stick, you say I can't use the stick, I can only use the carrot. So what is the carrot other than, Evan had some good points, whether it's a billboard or a banner, something that they could use as a marketing thing that has to be beyond, almost reach national recognition. I don't know that we start that today, but until there's, a positive reason to do all those things and expend, right, because they're going to cost time and money to the airlines in order to fall in line and follow all the rules. If there isn't a big enough benefit, we all know what happens in business, it doesn't get done.
Yeah, you have to start somewhere. At one point, an Oscar was just a little golden statue, but over the years, it's grown some prestige to it. So maybe we'll just start off as a little golden statue. And,
right,
public opinion towards airlines doesn't matter. Go ahead.
Yeah, but to the golden statue, everybody knows the person getting the golden statue is more likely to make money. So how does that get translated, right? Contracts and stuff like that. So how does that translate? What I'm saying is we have to do a job of putting that out also, I think, which is in part what Evan, you're saying. And
yeah,
Ryan, I'm just trying to.
We're going to do some work on this. This can't just be a mundane report that Ryan gives once a year. We've got to do a press release. We've got to do some recognition. And airlines are sensitive to the public opinion, and O'Hare is the busiest airport in the country, and so getting an award from one of the most prestigious airports, maybe it goes somewhere.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you.
Thanks for your input on that. That was helpful. Does anyone else have any input? Ryan, do you have a little bit of guidance from where we're at? And Jeanette, do you have some idea of where this program's going?
Yeah, I think between now and the next meeting in January, we can put together kind of some metric calculations that we think might work to incorporate all the feedback we got today.
Okay, and then we can tweak on the edges, where those weightings fall.
Mm-hmm.
All right. With that, Our next meeting is January 28th of 2021. Do we have any member comments?
Yes, Chairman. I'd like to just review a couple of 9 Center things. Ryan Anderson, can you pull up the CDA website? I just want to show everybody where to find the FAA video on 9 Center. At this point, none of you should have any questions about how the runway is being used. The FAA has prepared a video. It's been available for weeks. We want to make sure that's all clear and transparent to you. The video is only 7 minutes long, so I want to show you on the CDA and the ONCC websites where to find that so that you can help all of your constituents. So Ryan, can you pull up the CDA website? Yeah, so Ryan, go to the main page. Just go to flychicago.com so that they can see how we're navigating it. So this is the main page for the CDA. Go down to the bottom and then just click on O'Hare Noise. And when you do that, we have put the FAQs and the video right there front and center in the middle of the screen, new runway 9 Center and 27 Center. So Ryan, can you hover over the link for FAQs is right there. And then the video, go ahead and click there. That takes you to the FAA page. And the video is front and center. So you can get to the video in about 2 clicks on the CDA webpage. Ryan, let's do the same thing on the O'Hare Noise ONCC website. So go to oharenoise.org. And Jeanette, from here, can you tell us how to navigate to find the video?
The tab where it says new runway 9 Center, 27 Center.
Okay, so Ryan, click there.
And then there's the video at the first.
Yeah, second line in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
So right there, go ahead and click, Ryan, so that everybody can see it goes to the same FAA webpage. So we just wanted to raise that for all of you because it's really, really easy to find this video. And remember that, you know, the air traffic patterns that are in effect today will change on February 1st when 9 Right closes for the runway extension, and they'll change again after the OMP is done. So just remember when you're talking to a constituent about runway usage to talk about sort of near term, midterm, and long term.
And I do want to compliment the FAA. That was probably one of the most helpful videos I've ever seen put out by a federal agency. So Amy, if you could pass that back to your team. It's a great video. It is 7 minutes though. And all of us are airport tech junkies that like to watch 7-minute videos. I think it's just difficult for us to relay that back in a soundbite to our residents when they call to complain. So
yeah, the CDA is very appreciative of it. We've never had that kind of outreach video for the other 3 runways that we opened in 2008, 2015, and 2013. So to have this as a new tool is great because it's conveying a lot of technical information in a short amount of time. Chairman, that's all I have. Thanks for indulging me.
Thanks, Aaron, and thanks to the FAA for that video. Do we have any other comments from the members?
Just one comment, Aaron.
Yes, Alderman.
Evan. Yeah, so this one's to Aaron or Ryan, whoever. So when will 9 Center, 27 Center be fully operational with all the required FAA signaling?
Ryan Gazer can help you.
Equipment?
Alderman, I don't know the answer. I'll have to check in with the construction team and the FAA and report back through Jeanette. I don't,
excellent. Thank you.
I don't know the FAA's construction schedule at this point. And so I need to check to make sure that I'm relaying an accurate answer for you.
Excellent. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Now moving on to comments from the audience, our good friend Dan Dwyer.
Thank you, Evan. I guess as a resident, for me, the disconnect between the FAA video and the CDA fact sheet is the timeline. And when you look at questions 5 and 6, you know, it speaks to departures and arrivals as if this is something that was going to be immediate. And perhaps what would be helpful is a timeline from CDA that reflects any updates from the FAA so that we can give people that right information. And second, a question on the remaining 4 permanent noise monitors for the city. Since this is the last tech of 2020, is there an update as to whether those are still on schedule to complete by the end of the year?
The suburban, yes. The city, likely no.
Do you have any more questions, Dan?
I'm sorry, I missed part of that. So as far as the remaining 4, no by the end of the year?
Correct. Too many steps to complete before December 31st. That gives us 6 weeks. We don't even have contractor authorization yet.
Do we have an anticipated timeline in the 2021 then?
Well, let's talk about that. So Ryan, can you pull up the tracking sheet? So Dan, it's a 2-part answer. So I'm going to break the answer into sort of the near term and the midterm. So Dan, for the 3 on the left-hand side, sites 39, 40, and 46, once we get contractor authorization, we can lay out a timeline. For the 3 in the middle, sites 38, 41, and 43, the timeline is uncertain because for sites 41 and 43, as you can see, we have not yet completed step 1. We are looking forward to working through that with Ward 41. And as soon as we select a location, then we will be able to estimate a time frame. So I think the 3 on the left-hand side are probably early 2021, assuming that we can do prep work sort of in December, January, February. I don't know if the contractor will want to pour concrete for the base in winter conditions. They may want certain temperatures. I've heard a lot of the construction guys say they kind of want concrete to cure above 40 degrees, but don't quote me on that. I could be incorrect. So I think 3 on the left are probably early 2021. It's too soon to tell for the 3 in the middle. Does that help, Dan?
Yeah, and is there any priority being assigned to the 4 remaining from 2015? Because this will be going on 6 years in January.
Yes, so sites 39 and 40, the 2 leftmost columns, those are 2 of the 4 that you're describing, Dan.
Okay. And the holdup on the remaining 2?
So site 38 is one of those 4. As Vildana reported today, we have a location. We need to verify a couple of things before we lock it in and get an address assigned and move forward with it. At this point, I think the straggler is site 43. Because we don't have a site selected yet, that's the 4th of the 4 that you're describing. So 2 are near term, the 3rd and the 4th are kind of midterm.
Okay, thank you for the update.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you for the questions, Dan. Any other comments from the audience?
Yes, Frank here. I'm sorry I was late to the meeting. My house is 50 degrees and I had a furnace repair company here and they just left a few minutes ago. So I'd like to ask Aaron a question about these, about the noise monitoring stations. So, maybe we can put this to rest. Has the data from these noise monitors been used for any tangible decision that's been made for runway usage or sound insulation or anything? Or is it just data that gives you information about how much noise there is, but there's no action taken because of it?
The latter.
Okay, would you put it in your words?
Yeah, so Frank, you are correct that the noise monitors do not drive air traffic decisions. Rather, we would place the monitors where there are flight paths known or planned, right? Because we want the noise monitors to capture noise. So we place those understanding the traffic patterns that exist or could be approved. We do use it to look at DNL levels, right? So in the monthly report that we prepare for all of you, we are reporting DNL values for the month, and we kind of compare those to either the OMP build out projected levels, just to give you a sense for how those noise readings are trending, right? So they are not, to put it simply, the noise monitors do not drive sound insulation eligibility, and they do not drive air traffic patterns, Rather, we use the noise monitors to inform us about what's happening.
Okay, with that in mind, then I don't see any urgency. I know Dan, and I agree with a lot of what Dan says, but he sounds upset that these things aren't going in fast enough.
He's frustrated and I'm frustrated. It's very complicated.
I
right? Like
understand.
we've boiled this down to 13 steps, and Vildana and I are very frustrated. It's just that normally I don't share that with all of you.
I'm with you 100% on this, but it seems like it's doing all this work and effort and expense for something that's just a number on a piece of paper that you're going to recite to somebody, and they're not going to be happy with what they hear anyway. They know their ears are telling them it's noisy. They're making their complaints based on what they experience, not on some number that's 3 or 4 or 5 months lagging the actual experience. So, you know, I came into this a long time ago thinking that these noise monitors meant something. But now every time I hear noise monitors, it's like, I know it doesn't mean anything. So why are we even wasting time on it?
Well,
that's my opinion.
Frank, your point is valid. I wouldn't put it quite that harshly. It's not that they don't mean anything. It's just that noise monitors are for informational purposes, right? They are not the driver of air traffic decisions, and they're not the driver of sound insulation eligibility. Those two pieces of our program have other drivers that are setting the rules. But nevertheless,
I understand.
We still desire to monitor the noise in the communities around O'Hare, and of course we want to share all that data with you. And over the years, as we've brought new runways online, we have agreed to increase the number of monitors to collect more data.
I understand, but the reason people ask for them is I think people think that if their house shows that it's noisy, they're going to get something special, when we know it isn't that way. These noise monitors are only confirming what the FAA algorithm was planned to show.
Correct, Frank, I agree. So it's important for all of us to help dispel those myths.
I know. I think we should just tell the people outright, they're all adults. Yes, you can ask for a noise monitor, but don't expect anything to come out of it, even if it's installed.
Right.
We're in the real world.
Notes on our fact sheets, right? We've got fact sheets about the noise monitors, and we say specifically. So here on our webpage, there are 3 fact sheets. So Ryan, just click on the first one, Introduction to Noise Monitors, just so I can show this.
Yeah, I did want to point out, we do have a lot of information on this topic on our website that's available to everyone, specifically the criteria and purpose for installing noise monitor fact sheet.
And then Ryan, highlight the disclaimer at the bottom of the page. So Frank, we agree. We have this disclaimer that says data collected by the noise monitors will not be used to determine eligibility for the RSIP.
That's good. That's good. But it's like an agreement to the terms of using anything Microsoft. Nobody reads it, but then they complain about what happens with their computers. And this is the same thing, much the same thing here. If everyone read that, we would have no complaints about noise, because it's futile. And I think it's time people understand. And if they haven't been told so, they should be told so.
Well, I disagree with that, Frank. I mean, if that were the case, we wouldn't have O'Hare Noise Compatibility Commission. We wouldn't have the Flight Quiet Committee that's been working very hard on developing a flight quiet program to be in place at the airport. I think you're being a little bit too harsh on what can be done as far as aircraft noise.
Well, Ryan, with all the meetings that we've had, with all the discussions, with all the numbers we've been shown, the planes are still there. And I'm not saying they shouldn't be there, but nothing really has changed. We still have the same number of complaints. We have the same number of noise. People are choosing to live in an area or not, knowing that the airport is there. And this running around in circles trying to chase an episode of noise or or, you know, I want a noise monitor in my backyard. That kind of stuff is just wasting everybody's time. And that's all. It is what it is. The noise is going to be there, whether you have a noise monitor or not. And if you don't live in a contour, you're not going to get any remediation. I think we need to tell people that. And I think we all agree on this. Aaron, you know, I agree with you 100%. I'm a realist. And to keep telling somebody, yeah, we're going to put a noise monitor in your backyard, it's a feel-good thing, but it doesn't really give them anything. It just gives them a, you know, a tower in their backyard. So,
Right.
again, I'm sorry I was late for the meeting. I missed the beginning, but my house is very cold. You can see I've got thermal everything on right now, and I'm shivering in my own basement. So thank you.
Thank you, Frank.
Thanks, Frank. Any other member comments? All right. Before we adjourn, I just want to implore everyone, please take care of yourself and your loved ones. This coronavirus is getting out of control. I think we all know that. You guys mean something to everybody, so take care of yourself. With that, I will seek a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Almost so.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Jeanette, please call the roll.
Arlington Heights,
Yes.
Bensonville,
Yes.
City of Chicago 39th Ward,
Yes.
41st Ward,
Yes.
Hanover Park,
Yes.
Harwood Heights,
Yes.
Itasca,
Yes.
Norwich,
Yes.
Palatine,
Yes.
Park Ridge, River Grove,
Yes.
Rolling Meadows,
Yes.
Schaumburg, Wooddale,
Yes.
and School District 59. Thank you.
The meeting is adjourned. Thank
Good.
you. Have a good day.
Have a good
Happy
Thanksgiving and
Thanksgiving,
Christmas.
everybody.
Merry Christmas, happy Thanksgiving.
Merry Christmas.
Well,
Dennis, happy shave.
Hey, looks good, huh?
Yeah, I hate to be your plumber. Take care, everybody. Have great holidays.